You've been lied to your whole life. They told you that using people is evil, that real strength is in selflessness. But here you are, broke, exhausted, invisible. Used. Not because you're bad, but because you don't know how the game works. In this world, those who hesitate get eaten alive. This video isn't for everyone. It's for those who are tired of being the nice one, the silent one, the one left behind. If you want to survive, you must learn the rules. Learn to see. Learn to lead. And above all, learn to use before you're used again. Let's say it bluntly, everyone uses someone, even if they don't admit it. The teacher uses the students to feel important. The boss uses the employee to build his empire. The influencer uses followers to grow a brand. You use your friends for support. They use you for attention. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. The problem starts when one gives and the other only takes. That's when resentment grows. That's when people feel betrayed. But in truth, betrayal only hurts when you expected fairness in a world built on exchange. Stoics would say you suffer more in imagination than in reality. And this is true here too. The pain of being used usually lives in your expectations. You hoped someone would value you the way you value them. But life is not a mirror. It's a negotiation. And if you're not at the table with your own terms, you're on the menu. The word use terrifies the weak. They confuse it with manipulation, exploitation, betrayal. But that's not what we're talking about. Using someone means recognizing their value and matching it with your own. It's a mutual deal, a conscious interaction. A man who leads must use his team. A parent uses wisdom to shape a child. A lover uses affection to build intimacy. It's how humans connect. But those who fear this word, they stay stuck. They give endlessly, hoping someone will one day do the same. They live in a fairy tale where purity is rewarded. But life doesn't work that way. In reality, people respect clarity more than kindness. If you don't define how you want to be treated, they'll define it for you. And usually, it won't favor you. Power isn't loud. It's quiet awareness of what you bring to the table and what you're willing to walk away from. Imagine two people. One always gives, always sacrifices, always waits. The other takes, expects, demands, and never says thank you. Over time, who becomes stronger? The taker. Not because he's better, but because he's aware. He knows the giver is afraid to say no, afraid to lose approval. And so, he builds a life on borrowed energy. This is how the world works, not in fairy tales, but in boardrooms, bedrooms, and battlefields. The Stoics taught that the highest good is virtue, but even virtue requires boundaries. You can't live a noble life if your days are spent being drained by those who never fill your cup. You're not here to be a battery for other people's lives. You're here to master your own. And sometimes that means stepping back, setting limits, and yes, using people not to harm them, but to fulfill your purpose. People often say, but I don't want to be like them. And that's fair. You don't want to become cold, ruthless, calculating. But using others wisely is not about turning into a villain, it's about growing up. It's about realizing that the world doesn't owe you understanding. That no one will hand you power unless you reach for it. Look around, the strongest people you know, they ask, they negotiate, they walk away when needed. They understand leverage. Not because they lack heart, but because they've learned that being good isn't enough. You also have to be sharp, controlled, purposeful. The lion doesn't apologize for the hunt. And neither should you apologize for stepping into your own strength. The moment you stop trying to be liked and start focusing on being respected, your life begins to change. There's a reason manipulators love nice people. The more you avoid conflict, the more attractive you become to those who feed on submission. Your silence is an invitation. Your constant yes is a signal I have no boundaries. Take what you want. This is not humility, it's self-betrayal. Marcus Aurelius wrote, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. But what about when you allow wrong to happen just to avoid discomfort? That too is a failure of virtue. A man who cannot protect himself will never protect others. Using people then becomes a test. Can you take control of your role in relationships? Can you stop being prey without becoming predator? The answer lies in conscious intention. You don't need to dominate. You need to direct. You don't need to deceive. You need to decide. Let's be brutally honest, life is not fair. The talented are overlooked. The loud are promoted. The loyal are left behind. If you want to rise, fairness cannot be your religion. You must become strategic. That doesn't mean fake. It means focused. Imagine a builder with no blueprint. He might work hard, sweat all day, and still end up with a pile of rubble. But give him a clear plan, and suddenly every move matters. You are that builder. Your blueprint is your values, your goals, your awareness of human nature. Use it. People who succeed are not always the smartest or the kindest, they're often the ones who understand how value flows. They see every connection as a bridge and they choose where it leads. If you're drifting through life, waiting to be discovered, helped, or saved, you're not in the game. You're just a pawn. The fear of being a user is often a cover for deeper fears: fear of rejection, fear of confrontation, fear of standing alone. So instead, people overgive. They hope that if they're good enough, patient enough, selfless enough, the world will repay them. But it doesn't. The world sees what you allow. If you keep offering your time for free, people will take it. If you keep solving others' problems, they'll stop solving their own. Helping becomes enabling. Kindness becomes currency, and the price is your energy. The Stoics believed in duty, but they also believed in limits. Seneca once said, "We suffer more from imagination than from reality." And much of that suffering comes from trying to please everyone. Remember, if you give everything to everyone, you'll have nothing left for yourself. And that's not noble, that's negligence. Power doesn't always wear a suit. Sometimes it whispers. It's the quiet confidence to walk away from disrespect. The calm decision to say no without guilt. The silent awareness that you don't owe anyone your peace. Those who use others with intention, not manipulation, operate from this place. They don't steal value. They align with it. They enter rooms with clarity, not neediness. And because of that, they lead. Not because they're louder, but because they know what they're doing there. When you start using people wisely, you begin filtering. You stop wasting time on takers. You stop begging for loyalty from the disloyal. You rise. Not as a tyrant, but as someone who finally values their own worth enough to protect it. In the end, using people well is not a sin, it's a skill. And like all skills, it must be practiced. The man who uses no one becomes a tool himself. Harsh? Maybe. But look around, how many brilliant minds die in obscurity because they were too humble to be seen? How many loyal workers retire with empty pockets because they never asked for more? There's a quiet tragedy in always waiting your turn. The world does not pause for the modest. It respects those who take initiative. Who say, "Here's what I offer. Here's what I want." It's not greed. It's structure. Life without negotiation is slavery in disguise. If you don't learn to ask, to lead, to direct, you become fuel for someone else's fire. And the saddest part? You'll still believe you were the noble one. But nobility without results is just fantasy. A strong man builds boundaries not because he hates others, but because he finally loves himself. Think of a time when someone used you. Not with cruelty, but with clarity. Maybe a coach pushed you harder. A mentor challenged you. A friend told you the brutal truth. You felt discomfort, but also growth. That's the power of being used with purpose. Now flip it. When have you used someone, not for gain, but for transformation? Maybe you leaned on a friend to get through pain. Or relied on a team to achieve something bigger than yourself. That too is sacred. Using others isn't evil when it's mutual. When it's built on honesty, not illusion. The Stoics would remind us, live in accordance with nature. And what is more natural than humans helping each other through aligned needs? The danger is not in using. The danger is in lying about it. Pretending you don't need others. Or worse, pretending they don't need you. Many people confuse being used with being exploited. But there's a difference. Exploitation is one-sided, hidden, manipulative. But strategic use, that's clarity. That's consent. It says, "I see your value and you see mine. Let's build something." In the ancient world, even great thinkers like Epictetus had teachers, patrons, allies. No one climbed alone. The myth of total independence is just that, a myth. And those who cling to it often end up bitter, burned out, or both. You're not meant to do everything yourself. You're meant to know what's yours to do and delegate the rest. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. You can be generous without being naive. You can collaborate without being controlled. And you can use others with honor if you first use yourself with discipline. Using people also means learning to say goodbye. When someone has shown you they no longer respect your time, your values, your growth, it's not betrayal to walk away. It's clarity. One of the most dangerous illusions is believing you owe someone your future just because they were part of your past. Let go. The Stoics spoke often about impermanence, that everything changes, and trying to freeze life in place only brings pain. Relationships evolve. Purposes shift. If someone no longer aligns with your direction, it's okay to release them. Not with anger. With gratitude. Thank them for the lesson, then move forward. If you keep dragging people who aren't meant for the next level, you'll never rise. Sometimes the most powerful use of another person is to recognize when their chapter in your story has ended. To use others well, you must first master yourself. That's the paradox most miss. They rush to influence, manipulate, persuade, yet haven't built a foundation inside. What do you believe in? What are you working toward? Without answers, your use becomes abuse. But with answers, it becomes alignment. Think of a leader who inspires, not because they demand, but because they embody something. You follow them because they walk their talk. That's the kind of person who can use others without harming them because they also uplift. They don't pull value down, they elevate it. You want to use people? Good. Then become worth following. Cultivate vision, integrity, calm. Don't bark orders, radiate direction. Then those around you won't feel used. They'll feel chosen. There's a hidden cost to avoiding this mindset: regret. People reach old age and look back at how many moments they let slip away. Not because they didn't work, but because they worked without strategy. They helped without boundaries. They loved without limits. And they were left empty. They realized too late that life is not just about effort, it's about leverage. Using people doesn't mean stepping on them. It means stepping up with them. It means asking, who can I grow with? Who challenges me to become more? If the answer is no one, then you're not surrounded, you're trapped. You need people who sharpen you, not just soothe you. You need allies, not anchors. And to find them, to lead them, you must first stop being afraid to stand alone. Imagine a chessboard. Each piece has power, but only when played with intention. The king is useless without protection. The queen dominates, but only in concert with others. Pawns may seem weak, but when used wisely, they transform. Your life is the same. You're not meant to be every piece. You're meant to move them, coordinate them, understand their role in your bigger game. That's what it means to use people, not as tools, but as teammates. You recognize potential. You place it. You protect it. And when the board changes, you adapt. Weakness is not in asking for help. Weakness is in not knowing who to ask and when. Strength is choosing your players wisely, not out of desperation, but out of vision. Many avoid this level of leadership because it demands something terrifying: responsibility. When you start using others intentionally, you can't blame them anymore. You chose them. You guided them. You stood behind the plan. And if it fails, you own it. That weight is heavy, but it's also liberating, because it means you're no longer waiting to be saved. You become the one who moves, the one who initiates. The Stoics spoke often about agency, that we may not control the world, but we always control our response. And choosing to use people well with clarity and care is a radical act of self-leadership. It's saying, I know who I am, I know what I want, and I will build it with the right people beside me. You can either be liked or respected, but rarely both. This truth offends the people-pleaser inside you. But ask yourself, where did pleasing others ever get you? Did it earn you peace, or did it just delay rejection? Being liked is passive. Being respected requires edge. It means saying no without guilt. It means asking for more even if your voice shakes. When you start using people the right way, you stop chasing their approval. You don't need everyone to agree with your path. You only need the courage to walk it. Respect is born from clarity, consistency, and consequence. You don't need to raise your voice. Just raise your standards. And watch who stays and who fades. A man who learns to use people is not cold, he's awake. He sees how each moment, each connection, each decision either adds to his life or drains it. He no longer gives away time cheaply. He no longer entertains empty praise. He surrounds himself with those who sharpen his vision, not blur it. He gives, but not endlessly. He receives, but not passively. He is a force, not a follower. And when others try to guilt him for changing, for leading, for daring to rise, he smiles. Not with arrogance, but with understanding. Because he knows they are still asleep, still waiting for permission, still hoping to be chosen. He, on the other hand, has already chosen himself. Using people isn't about taking, it's about trading. Time for value. Effort for growth. Vision for loyalty. The problem isn't in exchange, it's in imbalance. Most people give endlessly without ever calculating the cost. They think being selfless makes them good, but too often it just makes them invisible. The Stoics warned us, you have one life. Guard it. Direct it. Don't scatter it across 100 unworthy tasks, faces, and obligations. Use others, yes, but only in the way that serves both of you. That builds. That stretches. That elevates. Every relationship should have gravity, not just comfort. Because if everyone around you feels easy, you're not growing. You're nesting. So here's the truth, whether it's easy to hear or not, if you don't learn to use people with strength, integrity, and vision, you will be used by those who already do. Life is not neutral. It's not fair. And it doesn't wait. Stop apologizing for having ambition. Stop hiding your ability to lead, to build, to move. This world respects those who move with purpose. So move. Use people and let them use you in a dance of mutual growth. Not with shame. with wisdom, with boundaries, with boldness. Because in the end, the man who dares to lead dares to shape, and the man who shapes never needs to beg. If this message struck a nerve, it was meant to. You're not here to be used without knowing it. You're here to rise. So share this video with someone who still waits to be chosen. If we reach 5,000 likes, I'll drop a full video on how to build inner power without becoming heartless, using Stoic principles and real-world tools. Subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Have you ever realized someone was using you too late?